Hey, welcome to this second part of our tutorial. In the first tutorial, I talked mostly about the theoretical part of configuring a Ubuntu server on Microsoft Azure. In this second part, I'm going to focus mainly on the practical side of this tutorial. Now, we need, as I told you, that in order to be able to configure a server on Ubuntu, you must have an account. You must sign up for the account. So what do you do to sign up an account? To sign up for the account on Azure, the first thing you need to do is to open your browser. You can open any browser, and the most convenient way to find Microsoft Azure website is maybe to just do a search. You can just type in Microsoft Azure, and the search engine will bring back the results. And as you see here, we see that Azure, the link to Azure is on top. Cloud Computing Services, Microsoft Azure. So we click the link. You can use any search engine, any web browser, and to take you, it will do the job for you. So since you are a new person or a new subscriber on the platform, we need to create, or you need to create an account. And this, we create an account. You have to know that the services that you access on Microsoft Azure website, you need a Microsoft account. You need to sign up for Microsoft services. So the account you use is what you can use in all Microsoft services. So what we need is to create an account with Microsoft services. So you click try. And as you see here, the platform will assume that we just want to sign in. So what we need is a new account. So we create a new account. So the new account, as I told you in the first video, if you didn't watch it, I'll leave the link in description here. So if you didn't watch the first video, so you need to watch it and learn what I talked about before deploying a server on Microsoft Azure. So what you need is an email, so you can put your email address. Mine is this one. So you can create the password. So we see that they sent us the code. They sent us the code in our email address. So you must have an access to your email address. It is very important to have that access to your email address. So the code, this is the code that we need to put. This code is sent into your inbox. It is sent in the inbox of your email. So you must be able to access your inbox to access this code. It is very important because Microsoft want to verify that the email you're using belongs to you. So we continue next. So now we have entered we have gone to the step of actually creating a Microsoft Azure. The other step was to sign up for Microsoft services account. So the account we use here is the same account. It is the same account we are supposed to use when creating a Microsoft Azure services, to be able to access Microsoft Azure services. So now that we've been able to create our new account, all we have to do is to log in. So we log in. After logging in, we put our password. Okay, so now we've logged in into we are logging into our, so this is the step of creating a Microsoft Azure account. This is the actual step now. Leave alone the other step. I would like to remind you that when you're creating a Microsoft Azure account, you have to first sign up for Microsoft Services account. That account, you can use it for any Microsoft Services account and to access any Microsoft services. So, for example, if you want to access Microsoft Store or the Microsoft Store for apps, you want to download apps from Microsoft Store, you just have to use that very account we've just created. Now, this step is what is important is one of the most important steps in being able to access the Microsoft Azure account. Now, here is the profile that we have to fill in. We have to fill in this form to be able to access Microsoft Azure. And as I told you in the first video, we need some important information like the credit card information. They're not going to charge you, but they just need that credit card information to put it there to verify that you're serious about using their services, or even to enable you to conveniently pay for the services once the free credits, the 200 credits get depleted. Now, when you look at this page, they are saying some of the popular services are free for 12 months. There are about 25 plus services that are always free, and also you're going to enjoy $200 credit to use in your first 30 days, just like the way I said it in the first video. So you have to put your first name. My name is Elijah. I'll put Elijah Were, and then you put your email address, the other address you use to sign up for the Microsoft Service account, and also you put your phone number. Guys, this is very important. You have to put your phone number because this phone number is what they use to verify. So after putting your phone number, you click text me, so they will send you the code, and that code is what they use to verify your account. Now, after verifying that, after putting in the code, then you click agree, and after agree, and then you also, if you want to receive some relevant information from Microsoft about some services, you can also select, but I have to select this one. That is very important. And then after that, you go to the next step, and this next step is where you have to put your credit card information. Here is very important. You have to insert your credit card information. If you don't put that information, you're not going to proceed to any stage. So you have to put the credit card information. So I'm assuming you have your credit card information just right there. Don't worry, your credit card information is safe and nobody's gonna misuse it. So it's just safe with Microsoft Azure. It's safe, but you have to put the billing information there. That is a must. So you must have the billing information. You must have your credit card or the Visa card, your MasterCard, to be able to access the services of Microsoft Azure. So for me, I already have an account on Azure. So this is my account. When I log in into my Gmail, when I log into my Azure, right now I'm assuming that you've already finished up the sign up process. So we want to just go right away to I just want to go right away to the dashboard. So this is my account. So when you sign in in your Microsoft Azure, you have to go just at the extreme right right hand side, this side. You click just at this where the profile icon is, and just click on it, and then select Azure Portal. When you select Azure Portal, it's going to take us at the dashboard where we can be able to configure our servers. So right now I already have a server that is running on Azure. So it's a Ubuntu server. But for this tutorial, for the purpose of this tutorial, I would like to create a new server. So right here, this is the first here is very important, and I'm asking you to pay attention when I'm creating this as we go through the process of creating the server. So when you reach at the dashboard at the portal, you see that there are so many features in the dashboard on the portal side of your account. So what we are interested in is to create a resource. So we can create a resource, and we want to deploy a Ubuntu server. There are so many servers right now, but we want to create a Ubuntu server. So we are going to create a Ubuntu server. So our Ubuntu server, you leave everything just like the way it is. Leave Azure subscription because you're on a free credit, and then you can create a resource group. If you don't have a resource group, since you are new, you can create yours. I created mine, which is Yuga Comp. That's my resource group. You can name your server. I'm going to name this server as tutorial. and then I will leave region US East. Availability options, just leave it. Availability zone, just put one. Image, we are deploying Ubuntu server, that is the latest one on Azure. So Ubuntu server. There are so many other images, but we are going to consider this one, to choose this one. And then size, the size for this case, let's select 2 CPUs and 8 GB memory. So let's just go with this for now. So you leave it. Administrator account, we can use SSH public key, but for this tutorial, let's begin with the authentication type. We will need to use password. So the password, this password is very important, as we are going to use it to log into our server remotely. Every time when we need to log into our server remotely, this is the password we need to use, and then use the username and the passwords are the credentials we are going to be using. So for this case, I'm going to use username. I'm going to put online, O is capital, and then password, I'll put in my password. So I'll put in my password. Then when we come down here, we see that there are public inbound ports. So the ports that we are going to use for remote access, and we are interested in SSH, which runs at port 22. So we are going to select that one. For now, let's select that, and then let's continue with and press next. So here you leave everything the way just it is. OS disk type, the disk type, you can choose premium SSD. You can use any other technology, which is we have also HDD or standard SSD, but for now let's leave it with premium SSD. Encryption type, just leave it the way it is, and then scroll down and click next. Networking. So networking, the virtual network, leave it just the way it is. It is already created for you, so you just leave it. Subnet, leave it. Public IP address, leave this one. And here, this is where we are most interested in. Here, select any board ports. We had selected SSH at port 22, but we can also add another one which is for RDP. So we are going to select that one for RDP. Now let's continue. Management. So I think everything is now. So for now, these other features you can just leave them the way they are. So at this time, let's create a review and create. So we want our machine to start provisioning. Yeah, so it is telling us that we've passed through the validation. Our validation, yeah, it has passed the validation process. And then you just have to leave. You can review whatever you've selected right now. You selected the subscription, the resource group, the virtual machine name, which is tutorial, and the region and every stuff like that. So everything is set. So it's time to create our server right now. So we are starting to create our server. We've configured the hardware and everything. So we are now going to create it so that to be able to start provisioning. So you create. So it is initializing, submitting deployment. So you have to just wait a little bit as the server provisions. It is still deploying it. The deployment is in progress. It is still provisioning, so you have to just be patient as the server finalizes to provision. Okay, so it is telling us that our deployment is complete. So we just have to go to our resource to find where the server is and start configuring stuff. As you see, it is telling us the status of our server is running. It is located in US East Zone 1, and we are using Azure subscription 1, which is the free credit they have given us. And so what this is very important. The system was already assigned us, the Azure system was already assigned us a dynamic IP address. It has automatically assigned us a dynamic IP address. So the public IP address, this public IP address is very important for us to use when accessing our server remotely. We use this public IP address to access our server remotely on our local machines. We use it to access using SSH. So we are going to copy this IP address, and then we have to save it somewhere. We have to save this IP address somewhere. We have to save it somewhere. So now what next after configuring the hardware for the server? What next? So what we are going to do next is to be able to access our server using SSH. For now, I'm not going to take you through all the processes of configuring your computer for SSH. If you're using macOS, I believe that macOS has it comes with SSH client in its operating system. If you're using Linux also has the SSH client, so you don't have to configure it. If you're using Windows, you can download your PuTTY or PuTTY, or you can just configure SSH client using the Windows features, the additional features that come with the latest Windows. I'm not going to show you all those processes of configuring SSH on Windows. Or you can just try to figure out, or I will create another video to help you understand. But for now, let's dive in. I'm assuming that on your computer you have SSH configured. I'm using a terminal. It's called Tabby. So this is my terminal. So what I'm going to do is to log into the server. Remember, we have a username. We created a username for our server and a password, and also the IP address. So what we need right now to be able to access our server remotely is we need to have the IP address, which we saved somewhere. We copied it and saved it somewhere. We also have a username for our server, which is online, and a password. So right now, to access the server, you just have to type in SSH on your terminal. Let me zoom a little bit so you can see. So you type SSH on your terminal and then type the username for your server. For this case, we had put online, and then add the password for your server. So this is the password for our server. Press enter and you wait. So it is telling us type yes, and now it is asking us to put the password that we created while configuring the server, configuring to deploy the server. So that password is what we have to put here. So you put the password. Remember, the password does, when you're typing in the password, it will not, you not see it. So you just have to type the correct password. Now, after logging in, we are already logged into our our server. As you see, we're already inside our server. So as you see, it is online at tutorial. So tutorial is the virtual machine, and online is the account for the access account we've configured. Now what next? Because we've already logged into our server, so we need to, the first thing you need to do is to update your server. So it is always recommended to update. So we are going to run sudo run sudo apt-get update. Oh, let me first clear this. Sudo, let me zoom in. Sudo apt-get update. So this one is important, that this one is good for installing all the necessary updates we need for the server. So it is downloading all the updates. So already done. So what next? We've updated. So the second thing we are going to do is to we are going to install NoMachine on our server. So I'm going to put all the commands that we're going to use to install NoMachine. So we are going to install NoMachine. So how do you install NoMachine? This is the command here for installing NoMachine on our server. So we use NoMachine to access the server, to access the desktop interface of our server. Just like here, I already have a NoMachine on my computer. So it is a client. It enables me to access my server, my server desktop environment. So I already have a NoMachine here. So when I try to connect on it, this is the desktop environment for my Azure server. I'm accessing my Azure server, the desktop environment for my Azure server remotely, just like any other computer. So I'm able to access my Azure server remotely using NoMachine. So everything, you can do everything just on my computer. I can do everything on my computer accessing the remote server. So this is what I'm trying to show you, and I would like to show you how to configure this. So this is my server, which I'm using NoMachine. So to be able to install NoMachine on our server, what you do is to type NoMachine, search for NoMachine on your browser or on your desktop, on your search engine, and then download for other operating systems. So when you come down here, we want to download or install NoMachine for Linux. So we're going to configure NoMachine for Linux. So what we are interested in is the DB file for 64-bit. So this is the DB file. So on this DB file, you right click and inspect. And now we are interested in getting the link You click. Okay, so you have to first click it, and you right click, inspect the button. So you are interested in getting the link for this. So you edit. Let's try to edit. Edit as HTML, I think. So now we are interested in getting the link, this link, HTTPS, the download link for our image, for NoMachine image. So this image, this link, you copy it and paste it somewhere to be sure. You can paste it somewhere to be sure. So this is the link we want to enter. We want to use to download and install it on our server. So let me repeat the process once again. When you go on NoMachine website, you have to select NoMachine for Linux DEB 64-bit. So you click. After clicking, you come back here and see the button. So this button, you right click and inspect. After inspecting, you can right click and edit it as HTML here. So what you're interested in is the HTTPS link, this link, and copy it. To be on the safer side, you can get somewhere where to paste it to ensure that it doesn't have quotes and it's just like the way it is. So this is the download link that we have to use to install and configure our NoMachine server on our Linux server. So after getting this link, I'm going to leave all I'll leave all these commands. I'll leave them down there. So we're going to use the wget script. So you paste it, you use wget, and then the link, the download link for the NoMachine server. So you hit enter. So it's downloading now. So you see, it's just a small file. It's 45.55 megabytes. So then the file is already installed. It is downloaded. So when you clear this and you try to see it, so this is the file. We've just downloaded the NoMachine file. So the next step is to install it. We've just downloaded it on our server, but we've not installed. So installing it, this is This is the command that we have to use sudo apt install dot /. So you have to use sudo apt install dot / sudo apt install dot / and then you copy this file and you paste it and then hit enter. So it is now installing. It is installing the NoMachine server on our Linux system. So it has installed our NX service. So it uses NX protocol, and this protocol runs the service on port 4000. So we have to configure this port to be able to allow the NoMachine to run very well on our server. So this is the firewall load that we have to establish, because the NX port uses the port 4000. So you copy this. Let me first clear it. So the rules are updated. We've configured the firewall rule to allow NX port to function using the TCP port 4000. So it is updated. Now the next step, right now NoMachine is actually working. It is the server is actually installed. The server is installed. So the next step, the best way to be sure about our server is to restart the server. We have to restart our server. Reboot sudo. Let's first reboot sudo reboot. So right now so what we have to do is to initiate again the connection. SSH online at password so now we know that our server is running, the NoMachine server is running. So what next? What next is to configure NoMachine on our local machine. So to be able to access NoMachine on our local machine, just like here, the way I have it on my computer, the local machine, all you have to do is to go back in your Google Chrome and go back to the website for NoMachine. So you go back to the website for NoMachine, and then you have to download the NoMachine client for your computer, for your local machine. If you have Windows, you can download for Windows. If you have Mac OS, you can download, you can click for other operating systems for Mac, and then you install NoMachine on your computer. Now, after installing NoMachine, remember there's a difference between installing NoMachine on your server, because what we did earlier on was to install NoMachine on our Ubuntu server. So now we have configured NoMachine on our Ubuntu server, and we also need to install NoMachine on our local machine. So I already have NoMachine on my computer. So what next? So what next is to add a new machine. So what is the machine? We are going to call it tutorial. The host. So the host is running. We use the IP address for our server. It uses a protocol NX and running at port 4000. So we connect. We try to connect. It is still connecting, so we have to be patient. So I think we need to write a firewall rule for on port 4000. So the firewall rule, we have to go back on our Azure dashboard. So let's go back to Azure dashboard. So this is the server tutorial, and what we need is security. I think we need we need to create to add a rule on networking. You select networking. So let's add, we already have SSH port running at port 22 TCP. We have RDP that is already running, so we have to add the NX protocol to run. Let's port ranges. Let's think. So we just have to IP addresses, you put 0.0.0.0/0. Port ranges, I think we have to leave it there. Destination, for now let's leave it any, and destination port, let's put 4000. This TCP protocol, action, allow, priority, we can put 320. Let's put 330. Name, it is NXC. and this you can leave it, or this one you can leave it, but for easy identification, let me say this is for no machine access. So you add. Now we have added a rule here, this one NXP. Now when you go to, let's try again and connect and see whether it is going to bring us the error. Okay, so it is saying, are you sure you want to continue connecting? Yes. Now it is saying, please type your username and password. So the username is online and the password is login. Yes. Just select don't show anymore for this. Select again. Now this is now we are practically logged in, but our server doesn't have a desktop environment, so it is going to show us a blank screen like this. It's going to show us a blank screen like this because we don't have a desktop environment on our server. So what should we do? We need to install a desktop environment. So let's install a desktop environment for our server. So for the purpose of this tutorial, we are going to install a desktop environment. It's a genome. We are going to install a genome display. So what we need to do is to copy this command. You copy this command. I'll put it down there. Go back to our SSH terminal and paste, or you say sudo apt install genome session gdm 3. So install. So it is installing. It is actually installing the what? The genome display, the desktop environment for genome on our server. So you wait. It may take some time, so you have to be very patient. It is still installing. So I'm pausing this video. I'll return when the installation is done, and then we proceed. Okay, the installation is done. So the installation is done. The next step is to reboot our server again. So every time you're installing a service on your server, you have to reboot it, to reboot the system. So after rebooting, you have to log in again. SSH, username, and the IP address, of your server. And then the password. So the next step, we need to finalize the installation of the desktop environment. So the second command we need to use, we have to make sure we want to enable all the features for GNOME display. So we have to install taskers. We want to enable all the features. So you paste this command, sudo apt install taskers. Okay, so you finalize to set up all the features. So you also again install sudo taskers install Ubuntu desktop. I'll leave all the commands in the description below, or you can download the document. I will put them in a document and use that document to follow. I'll put it in the desktop in a I'll put it in a Dropbox folder, public folder, and then you access it from there. You can download it from Dropbox. So this one is installing all the packages for the desktop environment for our server, just like any physical computer that runs Ubuntu Linux. Okay, so we are done with all the features. We will configure the desktop environment. The desktop environment and all the features that come with the genome display. So what we have to do is to reboot again. We're going to reboot the system. And then at this time we may not need SSH, so we had to install the desktop environment on our server to be able to access it on NoMachine on the local computer. So let's try again to connect on NoMachine and see. Select yes. Okay, so now we need to set up our display. You just leave everything, just select next. You can enable location services if you want. Next, and then all done. Start using Ubuntu. Boom. So we've actually set up a desktop environment on our remote server that is installed and configured on Azure. So as you can see, our server is accessible. Like we are just using a NoMachine on our remote computer to access it on our local computer, to access it from our local computers. So this is our server. You can do everything just like any local machine. Terminal. It's just fast. You can even change the interface of your terminal. Preference. You can use dark. Sudo. You can update. So this is basically this is the only way you can this is one of the ways how to access your server desktop environment remotely using a NoMachine. And now I'd like to show you how to you can use remote desktop. So if you want to use remote desktop, what you need to do is to make sure you install the protocol, XRDP protocol on your machine. So if you want to use remote desktop instead of NoMachine, you just have to install XRDP protocol. Let's log in to our server again. So the XRDP protocol, if you want to access remote desktop, is we have to install XRDP protocol. It is sudo apt-get install XRDP. This is the protocol for remote desktop, or especially on your Windows or maybe on Mac. So we can install it. Okay, so we can reboot the system. Sudo reboot. So SSH our user, and then we have to use the IP address. Okay, so now let's try to access our machine using the native remote desktop, Windows remote desktop. If you don't want to use NoMachine, you can use this method, but you have to first install the XRDP protocol as we've just done. So we search for remote desktop. Oh, wait. Here you put the IP address for the server we want to access, our server. So you press connect. Yes. Okay, so the username is online. Okay, so you can see that we are using Windows Remote Desktop to also access our server's desktop environment. But the problem with Windows Remote Desktop or the XRDP protocol is that it is so slow. So you can even tell the difference between using a NoMachine. When you connect on your server using NoMachine, there is a difference. It is so slow, like everything is slow. It's so slow, like you see, there's a lot of latency. So it takes time to respond. But you see, the terminal is just using NoMachine. NoMachine is very fast. NoMachine is very fast, but Windows Remote Desktop is very slow, so it is very slow. I would rather advise you, if you want to use to access your server environment, you just have to use I will advise you to use NoMachine and not XRDP. It is so slow to access the server using XRDP. So okay, so we've seen everything, and that is it. If you have any question, you can put it in the comment section, and I'll try as much as possible to help you with anything when trying to configure your server on Azure. You can please subscribe to this channel. It's a news channel. I'd like to get about 1,000 subscribers in 10 days. So I really appreciate if you find this tutorial very helpful to you. I request you to subscribe and also like this video, and I really appreciate for your help. See you again.